All right. Finally got this together correctly. Um, and I guess I owe people apology in that um, I had everything all set up. I mean, I had everything set up. And then it's like things just went awry. When it came time for me to start the live broadcast, this live stream, um, it just didn't happen. That's all I can say. It just didn't happen. And so I am kind of restarting tonight with this live stream, the second one. And we'll see what happens here. When I used to do the podcasts from back in 15 years ago, well, let's just say that I did certain things a certain way, and I tried to prepare myself for just about anything that would occur. I'm looking to my right because I'm like I had a couple other things that I needed to do here, but for whatever reason, it's not happening. So I'm just winging it. So I mentioned that tonight's live stream is going to be a free game. And if there are folk who join in the chat, great. If they don't, so be it. That's the least I can do. Let's see here. I'm making sure that I have at least the chat room all set up because, well, these things happen. That's all I can say. These things happen. I remember there was a show that I had set up with Patrice Rushen, and Patrice Rushen was like my last big guest. And what had happened, it took a while for her to show up. And so what I had everything all set up, I had all my eggs in one basket for her. I had everything all set up. And then it was like, I want to say at least 30 minutes before she appeared. And so I had to wing it. And it was not pretty whatsoever. So I'm kind of looking to my left here to see if I've got the live stream set up here in the chat room. And if I don't, then, well, we're just going to keep on. So bear with me here. In fact, my daughter, oh, she's got me now. Right here. Hey, man, what's going on? Finally got it together here. So what I'm gonna do is start off with what I wanted to share anyway, right from the start. Hey, Taurine, how tall is Patrice Rushen? Patrice is about like 4'8", 4'9". Here's a little tidbit. She appeared on Soul Train as a dancer as a teenager before coming on as a guest of Don Cornelius. In fact, if you really follow music, Patrice was a couple years ahead of him though, but they attended the same high school, and then he eventually was her bass player and sax player, Gerald Albright. They attended Locke High School, and Locke High School is also famous for Ozzie Smith, the Hall of Famer, who played for mainly with the he started out with the San Diego Padres and then went to the St. Louis Cardinals. But what I wanted to share though was, at least starting out with this free game, how did I start out in delivery and transport? And then I'll kind of work my way into what I wanted to talk about. I started out, as I've often shared, doing rideshare for Uber and Lyft, and that was 2016. And then I had my first taste at delivery and rideshare in 2018. And that was with Roadie. Roadie was my first taste into doing last mile delivery, and it actually occurred within weeks after my having a hip replacement surgery back in September 2018. And at the time when Roadie Rody was still kind of an unknown. It was one of those well kept secrets. And so with Rody app, there were opportunities where you actually there was not enough people on there to where opportunities were taken like as soon as you see them. Opportunities were allowed to kind of build up in price before people took them. So let's see, comment. Yeah, UPS. That's when you can call Atlanta and speak to somebody. In fact, you could actually call Atlanta, and if you didn't like what was being offered, if you had a good enough argument, they may bump the actual gig. So yeah, Steve. By the way, Taurine, Steve Rideshare Rodeo was my guest last week. So again, I'm appreciative of just, hey, whoever's coming in tonight, I'm appreciative because YouTube has not been pushing my stuff too that much this past week. It seems like my numbers have tanked since last week, but I've had these little bumps like that with YouTube. So I mentioned just now that I started out with the rideshare with Rody, and then a few weeks later, I got on with Amazon Flex. And as I've shared with both, I was in that second group of drivers who were brought on into the Columbia, South Carolina market. There was a group that was brought in October 2018. Then I was brought in November 2018. And so I saw where, as with the market starting out, there were a lot of real good blocks that came out. People were bragging of earning $100 per block and so forth. And and that held up for a while until the van companies started getting traction and getting established. And then thanks, Steve. Amazon had to keep the van companies happy by making sure that they had volume for them. And so the fact that they were diverting volume to keep the van companies happy and make sure that their people were busy, that sacrificed drivers. And so the blocks that we were seeing starting out like in November, December, and early January 2019, November to December 2018, then January 2019, those blocks disappeared. The best blocks you saw by the summer of what's 9 plus? All right, Cyril. I don't know. 21? Is that what it is? What's 9 plus 10? 21? Or is it 24? That's between Cyril and I. That's I think that's the way that joke goes. So the blocks that I mentioned in 2019, the blocks were only going for like at best $80 at a time. Okay, so she said I got it right, 21. So what I'm known for, being the gig geezer, is now is with the ownership and operation of a Sprinter / cargo van. And so that occurred in December 2022. And as I've shared on many occasions, I met a young guy in a parking lot of a Walmart, and we got to talking about various things. And he mentioned about having his authority, and that kind of sparked a curiosity. The van that he had was a Dodge Ram City, if memory serves me correct, is the city van, which means that it was the small Ram version of a van, kind of like it would be the Ford equivalent of a Transit Connect. And so over the ensuing weeks, I got to looking into ownership and operation of a Sprinter / cargo van. In fact, I'm coming up on about 2 years of that. First full week of December, I pursued looking for a van, found one in Georgia, got financing, and December 16, 2022 was when I started with actual operation of a van. I went to Cumming, Georgia, and picked it up. The next day, had two catering opportunities up in Charlotte. Earned over $400 that day. So, looking back, the question might be, well, was it a good time for me getting a van in 2022? I'm gonna say yes and no. Yes, from the standpoint of I was able to do what I thought was going to happen, and that was to uh, increase earning capacity with the ownership and operation of a Sprinter/cargo van. Was it a good time otherwise? It may not have been from a buying van standpoint because vans are hard to find, at least the type of van that I was looking for. Now is a good time to find a van, but is there the volume and opportunities for you to make the money? That's another question. So and but then again, you can always say it's what you make of it. But what you make of it, that's a hard one because while I'm still on pace to earn six figures for a second consecutive year, the last couple of months have been some of my worst months since the beginning of 2020 when I just compared monthly earnings. So I've kind of set this thing up now for the past 10 minutes now, and I mentioned I was going to talk about free game. The free game is going to be like this. I'm going to go over some things that I've shared in previous video uploads. Hopefully for those who are still interested in this ownership and operation of a Sprinter/cargo van, these are some of the things that you need to do. I'm going to answer this question. Cyril asks, would you have bought a van again if you could go back? I think it would. Yeah, I would still do it. Probably would not finance. If I would rather not have financed. I've been able to pay on a van. In fact, I paid my most recent payment this week. So that's a good thing though. But I think though that in today's economy, I think you're better served if you can make an outright cash purchase because that's one less concern you have to have. And then also from an insurance standpoint, someone had told me this and I kind of didn't believe it. But then again, I ran some numbers on some things. From an insurance standpoint, it's actually cheaper if you buy it straight up cash because the number that you would use for the value of the vehicle, I hope I'm not telling myself though, but I think the value that you use for the vehicle actually would bring down the rate, your premium. So a lot of folk always ask the question, how do you start with the ownership and operation of a van? I don't like to say cargo van business because when I think of cargo van business, I think of somebody who's selling them, not so much as the operation of one. And besides, as I'll talk further, there are other things that you can do with a van other than delivery and transport. So one of the things that you want to do is set up an LLC. The question often is, do you set one up before you get a van or after you get a van? Well, from an administrative standpoint, you would really want to set up the LLC before you get the van because because when you set up an LLC, then you have the potential of setting up that van being in the name of your business, even if it's a cash purchase. It will be registered in the business name, and also from an insurance standpoint, it could be in the insurance. It could be in the business name. Everything be set up in a business name. And ideally, what you want to do again is set up an LLC, limited liability corporation, because the advantages of LLC, as we know, is that if something major happens and somebody were to come after you, they're going after the assets of the business and not your personal assets, at least as what we know. You can always revise your LLC documents, at least in South Carolina, you can. And it's always good to have the papers in place, especially when you're also trying to set up your bank accounts. That's another reason why you want to set things up that way. When you set up your business checking accounts, I say plural checking accounts because I learned from being an insurance agent, you want to have uh, an account for money coming in and money going out. And so, um, personally, I'm not really saying something that I shouldn't. Um, I have two business checking accounts set up that way, one for money coming in, one for money going out. It's easier to keep up with your money that way when you have money coming in and coming and going out. So, another question is, do you recommend business credit cards? They're good to have. They are. They're good to have. That's if you can that's if you can qualify for the business credit cards, because it's going to be based on, in part, your good credit, because you're going to be the guarantor of those cards. Um, and so, and that's also with most business purchases. You have to have good credit in order to um, finance a vehicle, a commercial vehicle, and then you have to have good credit to get credit cards. Simple as that. Um, Cash is always king, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It's just that that's it. Now, if somebody had asked me that question, would I have? I mean, I would still go at it the same way I did as with that. Now, where could you go then to finance a vehicle if that's where you choose? That's a place of your choice. Now, I'd never considered a credit union that I actually do business with. I considered a major bank, and that was probably for me the best decision. Um, Again, the question is finance or purchase cash. I would recommend purchasing cash. Um, if I had to do it all over again. Now, um, let's see here. Who we have? Sarah, you're like the main person. Don't forget to like the live and share with a friend. Yes, you're right. That's why I put the banner across there right now. Join the conversation. Thanks for stopping by tonight. Version of I'm Speaking. And if you would, subscribe, share, like, and comment. So, what are some of the advantages? What are some of the advantages of financing or even business credit card? The biggest advantage is that you are establishing business credit, because at some point you certainly don't want it to be with you being the guarantor. But the disadvantages are those payments, because once you start putting miles on your vehicle, you're going to feel as if, man, why am I paying on this thing? I need to pay this thing off fast, like last week. But then again, things may kind of go. Life happens, business happens. There are ups and downs with business. Michael Manuel is in the house. Thanks for coming by. Mike. I don't know if I saw you last week with last week's live stream, but thanks for coming by. The other thing is that with financing, you have to do inherently, you're going to deal with a higher premium because of really the value of the vehicle. The value of the vehicle affects your premium, and there's no way around that. And so when you are able to pay off the vehicle, and then you're able to, I'll just leave it at that. You're more than likely to have a lower insurance premium. The biggest advantage about with a cash purchase as well, it is immediately an asset. Regardless of the miles that you drive on it. It's still an asset. If you get a vehicle with 125,000 miles on it, you can turn around and sell it the next day, maybe for what you bought it for, but it's immediately an asset. Disadvantages of a cash purchase, I can't say there are any. Now, what I am sharing in this live stream and what I've shared on my channel over the past years now, I would say that you should treat this as a guide and not as gospel. Jada Trade Jada no um I don't have my geezer eyes on, so let's see. The question is, what are some of the companies brokers that I deliver for? Well, I deal with a bunch of them, and quite honestly, if you look around, nobody really talks about what their brokers who they deal with. Um, but there is one that everybody does talk about. One of them is TQL, Total Quality Logistics. That's one that I can share because that's they're like one of the bigger ones out there. Um, oh, JA Tradesman of '01. That's what it is. Hey, thanks for coming through here, man. But hopefully I answered at least a part of your question there. It's not the entire question, but that is one of them that everybody talks about. In fact, the last time, mm, the only thing is that I've done maybe a handful of runs for TQL. In fact, the last time I did something for them was earlier in the year. Uh, that's and it's been like two times this year, two times last year. The one that I talk favorably of is a run that I did from Charlotte to Dallas, and that earned me the base on that was 1100 that I got, and that's pretty good for TQL. Now, would I do it again for 1100? No, I wouldn't. I'd be asking for more money. So, um, they do call you sometimes. Yeah, they've called me. They've called me as well about a run. Um, but I mean, you must do a lot of runs for them. I don't do a lot of runs for those guys. Like I said, I've done like 4 runs for them. So, um, I mean, I'm more than forgotten. Um, let's see here. What now? I'm going to share some other things that goes with the starting of a business with Sprinter slash Cargo Van, and this may also be related to delivery and logistics, delivery and well, delivery and transport. I shouldn't say entirely logistics though, but um, in South Carolina, before you even get your license plate, you got to pay a property tax. And uh, but if you're now that's if you pay a cash purchase. Can I share how people find brokers? You gotta look for them. That's what I'm gonna say. You gotta look for them. I mean, I actually found out about most of the brokers that I just by actually just googling brokers. Um, in fact, but then again, you may get sometimes depending on if you're dealing with a factoring company, they may give you a list of potential brokers that you might be able to get on with. The main thing though is that when you're starting out, you need to have an active authority for 90 days. All right, Cyril. Thanks for the question. Thanks for the question, Cyril. But I'm not going to tell on you this time. But anyway, but going back to property tax in South Carolina, you must if it's a cash purchase, you've got to pay for the property tax before you can get a license plate. If you're financing, then you can just pay for the license plate, and then you'll be billed for the property tax due payable within 120 days. Another big question that's often asked about is commercial insurance, or do you keep your van? Do you get commercial insurance, or do you put your van on personal insurance? I've answered that in multiple segments of the Gig Geezer, but it's really going to depend on what you're doing. Now, I am aware of people who have their vans on their personal insurance. The question, though, is whether they have like a rideshare endorsement with their coverage. because if they don't have rideshare endorsement, their coverage, if something happens while they're doing something for, let's say, one of the last mile gig delivery apps like Roadie, uh, the company may not pay. So, um, and then again, it also depends on the app. Some apps require you to have commercial insurance or commercial general liability. So it all depends on what you're doing. I got commercial insurance. I had commercial insurance when I went to the car lot. Hey, delivering with Ellen. Hey, thanks for coming back through here. Um, um, you were here last week, and thanks again coming through here this week. Um, Now, as I mentioned with commercial insurance, I had commercial insurance when I picked up the van at the car lot in Georgia, and that was my choice. I also got the insurance looking ahead, thinking that I was going to get my authority at some point. Oh no, you're not late, Ellen, because I actually started 15 minutes late. Somehow, my connection was bad, and so I didn't start at 9 o'clock. I didn't start at 9. I started at 9:15. So you've been in there for 2 years, active 30 out of Charleston. Okay, and you have commercial insurance as well, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Trades. I'm just gonna say J Trade because again I don't. Um, I'm having to pull it up to read because I got old folk eyes. Been in the game 2 years with active authority out of the Charleston area. That's JA Tradesmo Trades Tradesmo J Trade. Anyway, I'm not trying to butcher your name there, but let's see here. What else can I share? Um, One other thing that I've shared a lot is I've tried to tell people that you must understand that from an insurance standpoint, a Sprinter van is going to be looked upon as a commercial vehicle. But from a US DOT standpoint, it is not because its gross vehicle weight rating is not 10,001 pounds or more. At least most model vans that we see out there on the road, they do not, their rating is not 10,001 pounds or more. If it is, then it would be considered a commercial vehicle, even by US DOT standards, which mean that you'd be subject to an inspection and safety audit. Um, Next question. Now, this is what JA Trade was talking about. He has his authority, active authority for. Uh, how long have you had your authority, JA? I've had mine. Mine has been active, at least by US DOT standards, since January 24th, 2003. So I'm coming up on 2 years of my authority being active. Now, quickly, the process is that you'll apply for your authority. You'll pay $300 for that line of authority. Your US DOT number is free. That's more for administrative purposes. But then after you pay for that authority, you must wait 3 weeks before it becomes active. So even then, you have to wait 90 days. Most brokers are going to require you to have active authority for 90 days or more before they'll even book a load with you. That's in most cases. So that means basically from the moment that you apply for authority to actually perhaps be in a position to book your first load, you're talking basically 4 months. So that's a good while. Now, one of the costs then is $300 for that authority. Another cost that you may pay for is what's called a United Carrier registration, and that's paid annually. I recently paid mine, and that was $47. Last year's like 30 something dollars, so it seems to go up. Um, Another question that people ask, and hopefully this is all free game for people, but some people ask, well, should you have an accountant? Well, my thinking is you pay for what you don't know and what you don't have, and either a combination thereof, what you don't know, what you don't have, or both. Now, in some cases, it may be necessarily legally to have an accountant. Uh, Personally, I've gotten by without not having authority, Okay, okay, you've had yours 1 3. Okay, we applied about the same time, so yeah, you're coming up on 2 years too. That's cool. So anyway, um, what I was saying was that with the accountant though is that um, I've been able to get by with doing my own bookkeeping and my own taxes. But not everybody, is deft of numbers and understanding of certain basic things when it comes to filing taxes and just bookkeeping. And so it may serve you well and keep you out of financial trouble by having an accountant. Let's see, we're about 30 minutes into this, and hopefully I'm answering some questions that some people may have had in the past about things. Um, I came in um, with some topics that I think would be of help to people. And hopefully these are, as I said, are. Now, there are some must-haves I believe that a person should have with a van. Slick. I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say, but slick, what's going on? Um, what I think are must-haves with in delivery and transport, they may be different from the video that I've put up, but these are some things that I think you should have in your van because you just never know what may come up. First one is battery charger, air. I just group them all together: battery charger slash air pump and radiator fluid. I think these are must-haves in your van. The battery charger slash air pump is, um, I'll put it like this: I had a situation just entering into Florida. How much do I have saved up? Uh, uh, I've got a little bit of money saved up, but hey, things come and go. Money comes and go. Um, the money that I've got put back is for other reasons though. Um, but I've had my van now for going on 2 years, so I'll just leave it at that. Um, I just gotten into Florida on I-95 doing a load from Sumter to Jacksonville, and for the life of me, I ran over a um a road hazard, and it took out the rim, and of course I had a blowout, and here I was on the side of I-95 changing a tire. And I think what helped me in terms of time saving was having a hydraulic jack to change the tire. Ever thought about doing Amazon Relay um, with a CDL? You don't need a CDL to do Amazon Relay if you have a 26-foot box truck. Um, and as long as that box truck is 26,000 pounds and below, you don't need a CDL. You just need a medical card. Um, so I mentioned two things as far as what you should have with the battery charger and air pump, and then a hydraulic jack. I think that's important. You should have ratchet straps and bungee cords. I think you should have an E-track system, just because a lot of people do require you to have things strapped down. CDL guys make more with relay running local too. That is true, but I know somebody who does even better and does not have CDL. So it depends on the person. That may be a debatable item with CDL people because um, the reason why I say that, uh, if you look at the rates, I'm listening. Salute to you too, man. Thank you for stopping through here. And the reason why I'm saying that is because some people believe, there are those who believe that the people who've got the CDL, the people who operate the big rigs, they're part of the reason why rates are as bad as what they are. So, but you can say that top down, but it does start from the top on the way down. And in fact, I've shared from time to time in my videos where I've made reference to my next door neighbor to my left who has his own rig, and I've shared with him some of the rates per mile that I've gotten for the loads that I've booked this year, and he says, "Man, that's almost as good as what we do." So um, that's why I answered the way I did. All right. So what are some other must-haves? Multi-purpose dolly, furniture dolly, PPE, personal protection equipment, helmet, reflective jacket. You never know if you have a load. Um, where you go, they require you to have a helmet and reflective jacket, various tools. Um, and there's somebody in this room here who understands what I'm talking about with various tools like Allen wrenches, hint, hint, um, torque sockets, impact sockets, breaker bars, wrenches. You never know when you have to get up under the hood if you have that type of dexterity. Um, you may need a cutting tool for boxes. You may need shrink wrap, furniture, blankets, and packing tape for boxes that bust open. Fire extinguisher and reflective triangles, and dependable lighting and batteries. These are some must-haves I think you should have with the ownership and operation of your van, and for that matter, with the in that regard, ownership and operation of a van. Now, what I will say is this: with respect to a van, it is a very versatile vehicle, and it can be used for functions other than delivery and transport. I am aware of somebody. I'm aware of people using a van for a barbershop, mobile barbershop. There are videos out there of people having mobile tire repair and vehicle repairs shops. I've even posted on my community page a Sprinter slash cargo van being used for a gourmet ice business. This one I saw up in Charlotte. I've seen up in Michigan a Sprinter van being converted for use of a pizza shop, dog grooming, landscaping. There's multiple purposes in which a Sprinter slash cargo van can be used, and it does not have to be just for delivery and transport. Now, personally, one of the coolest things I wish I would have done with my van, but I haven't done it because I've not picked up a bowling ball in 3 years, is to have used my van to go to tournaments, be it high level scratch tournaments or PBA regionals. I do know of a guy who's a PBA member who is an electrician, and he does use his van with going to tournaments. He's got wrap on his van where he's an electrician and he's a PBA member and all that. In fact, one tournament I can think of with him being an electrician, um, this happened on a Sunday morning. We're about to start match play, and the lights go out at the bowling alley. And he's the guy who actually changed his shoes and went out and figured out what was wrong with the breaker system and got the lights back on. So, but that's just a side story. Um, the fact is that I wish I could have that story to share. I don't have that story to share. Now, I talk about free game. Um, you know what? This is where I think when you start sharing certain things about what has gotten what I share about what's gotten me to where I'm at. Um, you know what? I would challenge I would challenge anyone out there on YouTube to share the stuff that I have shared thus far. I mean, we could talk about the apps. We can talk about how the apps work. We can talk about how much we make on the apps and all that. But a lot of the things that what I'm sharing are just things that get you started and actually keep you in business. The one thing that um, I will say about um, apps are that they are the they are all three: the past, the present, and the future. How we make these apps work for us is debatable only because the apps are always looking for ways to try to stay ahead of us. And unfortunately, that it's a cat and mouse game. I have contact with someone almost on a daily basis, and some of the things he shared with me are things that I've not even seen behind the scenes with the apps because he's in a position where he sees some of the things and he shared some of that information with me. The one thing that I can say is this: these apps are making money. They're making money, and they're making it at our expense. And so for folk like me to talk about how uh, you need to be selective with what you do. You don't need to grab for everything. That's really just basic. That's just basic strategy. Um, there are things that go on with the apps and with drivers that aren't talked about, and for good reason. Because um, really and truly, if everyone got wind of it, it would I think it would kill the market completely. I really do. Um, but what I will say is this: these apps know what we do. These apps know our tendencies. They know who does what and how often. Um, it's kind of like with brokers, in that the question earlier was about trades. Tradesmo mentioned about how TQL has called him, TQL has called me. I have a relationship with one particular broker, at least where I've done a lot of loads for them. But then again, I had situations where we didn't come together. We did not come together on the numbers. These apps know who's out there. They know who's out there, and I think it's fair to say that. I can tell you of a situation where I was on a going to a brokered opportunity in the Asheville, North Carolina area, and one of the apps called me about about an opportunity that they had in Greenville, and I told them, "Look, man, I got a brokered opportunity I'm going to. Okay, that's fine. You can get it on your way back from Asheville. That since you're going in that direction, you can just pick it up then." And uh, I'll just say that we agreed on some terms for that load, and it paid a hell of a lot more than what I see a lot of people talk about. But then again, that doesn't happen every day. But these apps know who's out there. That's free game that people ain't talking about, and what a lot of people have not experienced either. Um, Direct bookings where you can cut out the broker, I believe that's possible. I've had some. I've had a couple situations like that. The question is how they're going to pay you. Are they going to pay you up front, or are they going to do a net 30 where they pay you 30 days later? The only advantage that I have, I think, when I deal with brokers in most situations is that, well, in every situation, is that I have a factoring company that I deal with. And I know that either the next business day or 2 business days later, I'm going to see money in my checking account. And that's just from my experience, what I'm sharing. Um, that's just my experience. Now, what else can I put out there? Uh, am I the new guru now? No, I'm not the new guru. I don't know everything. I don't. I don't. I mean, I've been at the delivery and transport at this level with a sprinter slash cargo van since December 2022. That does not put me as a guru. I've been able to survive better than a lot of folk. I've seen people come and go, and but that doesn't put me as a guru. Agreed. I think everyone has an individual file started with an AWS cert. The apps know our tendencies. That's right, and that's what contributes to the algorithm. Well, Pedro is not in the cheerleader for delivery. Delivery. That is not. Hey, Brian. Um, Pedro, I've actually appeared on Pedro's on a Sunday live stream with Pedro almost 2 years ago now. But I don't. I've not had any interaction much with Pedro since then. Pedro at one point liked to talk about how he was able to do everything on DoorDash, just a single app. But I've always been an advocate of multiple apps. I was talking multiple apps long before a lot of people were talking multiple apps, only because of my market situation here in South Carolina. Ned, thanks for saying that I'm highly knowledgeable. Some people don't think I know what I'm talking about, but um, let's just say that I've tried to understand what I'm doing, and and I've tried to communicate with everyone accurate information. Um, do I have my own authority? Axel, yes. As I shared earlier, I've had my authority has been live since January 24th, 2023. So I'm coming up on 2 years of active authority. What I've shared in the past about authority, having my authority that long, really the biggest significant is that I've been able to maintain my commercial insurance policy that long. And that's almost an accomplishment in itself if you understand about maintaining commercial insurance. It is not a cheap proposition. Got skills? Maybe. It depends on who you talk to. Um, it depends on who you talk to. In that I may or may not have skills. Um, let's see here. We've got about 14 minutes left in this session, and I'd like to think that it's gone fairly fast. Um, it could have been a graveyard of a situation. I would say, um, had this been exactly an hour ago. As I mentioned, this live stream was delayed by 15 minutes because I had poor connection. I had to literally restart my computer, and that seemed to got everything going again. Um, let's see here. Um, what else can I share that might be a free game for folk out there? Oh, I want to talk about now. I'm gonna go back to something that I've shared in some videos in the past, and this is dealing with tax information. This is just my observation and my observation only. I don't want to get you in trouble with the IRS, but I'm going to share these things that I think that are important. I mentioned earlier about having an accountant. There are people who talk about going to their accountant for things. And by the way, I'm going to say this as well. Thanks for stopping by. This version of I'm speaking. If you would subscribe, share, like, comment, and contribute in the chat. Um, Cray, hey, thanks for coming by. It's nice to see you again. Thank you for last week as well. Um, one of the things that I'm going to say that should help anyone, at least based on current tax law and tax code, is mileage. Mileage is a 1099's best friend. I can't stress this enough. How mileage is a 1099 best friend. Because everybody talks about, oh, I don't want to be putting miles on my vehicle. I don't want depreciation, blah, blah, blah. Well, depreciation, you can only do one or two things. I mean, in most cases, you can only um, claim miles or claim depreciation. At least that's been my understanding. So I always claim miles. The main thing is keeping track with your miles. And the one time I really had to show proof of miles with the IRS was almost 20 years ago when I was audited by them. And then I had to show some proof of miles, and I had to show, based on odometer reading, something that would show that range of miles that I was claiming. So if you happen to be one who goes and get your oil changed, that should help in terms of keeping up with the documentation of your odometer readings. Otherwise, you keep your odometer readings for your as you go. What else? What are some other things that you should keep up with? Expenses. Now, some people say you keep up with what you eat and all that. I mean, I've never really kept up with what I ate, but I've kept up with equipment purchases. I've kept up with subscriptions. I've kept up with anything that's related to the business, clothing, shoes, tools, things like that. I think are invaluable with claiming on taxes, because there's a space that you can claim that, and that's on your 1040C profit and loss statement. These are heads up. Sometimes I watch on my 55-inch 3 foot away and I can see your nose hairs. Got a trim nose. That's pretty good, man. I believe it or not, I do, but hey, I guess I'm a hairy person, man. So it's hard to keep it's hard to keep those done. I mean, I do better with my with the ear hair than I do with the nasal hair. But back to the free game. Mileage, equipment, uh clothing, subscriptions. What I mean by subscriptions, like if you subscribe to, for example, like I subscribe to Adobe for its not its creative suite, but it's well, it's the equivalent of creative suite. So for my editing equipment for video and for other things, I pay a subscription there. The StreamYard that I'm doing these live streams, I pay for that subscription, so that's a part of what I do. um, Things like that. I mean, you keep a record with all that. I keep now what I do as a practice. All that is kept up on a Excel spreadsheet, and so when it gets to the beginning of the year, next year, well in January, what I'll do is start going through every month all my purchases. I break them up into certain categories, just like with the IRS, and I just run down the numbers on a spreadsheet, and then when it comes to um, doing my taxes, it takes me probably 2 hours to do my taxes. So that's I think that's free game that again a lot of people don't talk about. Um, and whether you apply it or not, okay, I get it. But again, this is not tax advice. It's just me sharing what I do when it comes to taxes. Um, I will say this too: you invite you invite yourself for an audit if you're looking as a 1099. If you're looking to get money back, you better have the paperwork to justify getting money back. And I'll just leave it at that. If you're paying taxes as you go, then you don't have a problem. It's just that you're more likely to be audited than somebody who is just paying as they who just pays once a year to the IRS. And I'll just leave it at that. I think that that won't get you in trouble though, but that should give you a clue as to how you can do things as a business person. So, anybody got any questions in the chat room? Any other questions that I can answer? Hopefully, what I've shared may be of some use for you in in your personal enterprise. Some of what I share it actually can help in other facets of personal enterprise, even if you're not doing delivery work. I mean, some of the stuff that I'm talking about has helped me as an insurance agent as well, namely the mileage part and the keeping up with the expenses and all. Another thing that I've shared for myself, one of my write-offs is having office space that I've had a brick and mortar office for going on now 8 years, and so that's a it's like a $3,800 write-off for me. So I'll just leave it at that. But anybody have any questions in the chat? Mm, okay, well, I'm gonna kind of wind this thing down now. Um, I will have another live stream next week. Next week, Wednesday at 9 o'clock, and hopefully it will start as it should at 9 o'clock. Um, Again, the problem this week was that um, I had an issue with the Wi-Fi, and I had to restart the computer. Um, let's see. Do I have any other thing else I need to cover while I'm at it? No, I think that's it. Well, everyone, I'm gonna kind of wind it down. I'm going to kind of um let's see. I'm going back over to chat just to see if there's any questions that I missed here. Sarah had asked me how could I share how I find broker where I live from. Um, I did answer that question. Yeah, I did answer that question. So again, y'all, hey, thanks for coming through here. Brian, thanks. Yeah, bye. That's a nice way of saying it. um, again, if you like what you've seen here, subscribe, like, comment, share, and hopefully y'all be joining the damn conversation next week.